I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. It involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself.
Stephen A. Smith has officially lost all patience with the WNBA, and honestly, it's about time. He didn't just criticize the WNBA, he detonated a literal nuke on the league and called for a full-blown federal investigation into Caitlin Clark's treatment.
Ms. Clark's targeting may reflect a culture of disparate treatment, and the evidence provides reasonable cause for a federal probe.
Yes, you heard that right. Stephen A. Smith is now demanding that Washington, D.C. get involved in women's basketball. Because according to him, what's happening to Clark is more than just bad sportsmanship, it's potentially a civil rights violation. And the wild part? He might actually have a point.
This is something that do not be surprised if President Trump speaks on eventually. And if that man decides that this is something that can feed his base, that can ingratiate himself.
32.2. So if you can help me out with that, I highly appreciate it. And don't forget to get in the comment section and let me know what y'all think about this one. Let's get it.
All of these things are things that has the eye of the administration, as you know, Molly.
According to Stephen A., Caitlin Clark isn't just another WNBA rookie. She's the reason the league has its biggest spotlight in decades. She's the one driving sellout crowds, dominating sports headlines, and essentially giving the WNBA the economic facelift it's been begging for since, well, forever.
Caitlin Clark has done for the women's NBA what Michael Jordan once did for the NBA. Made it more valuable, watchable, and marketable.
Merchandise sales up over 600%, League Pass subscriptions up 366%, endorsements more than $11 million and counting. The Fever went from being a background team you couldn't pick out of a lineup to front-page news every game day. And yet, despite all of that, the league treats her like the designated punching bag of the WNBA.
Merchandise sales soared 601%. Indiana Fever viewership jumped 170%. The team's value tripled. League Pass subscriptions climbed 366%.
After all of these achievements and contributing so much to this league, what does Caitlin Clark receive in return? Nothing but merciless beating. We are talking about career-threatening injuries. We're talking about 17% of all flagrant fouls in the entire league last season, which were solely targeted towards her. That's more than double the next player. It's like the WNBA has quietly turned into how to beat up Caitlin Clark boot camp, and the referees are just there to supervise the carnage.
17% of flagrant fouls were against Clark. 17%. I mean, there's how many players? And 17% are all against Clark.
We've seen Clark get poked in the eye, tripped, blindsided, all in one single sequence, and somehow she ends up with a technical foul. You couldn't script this level of ridiculousness in a sitcom? And Stephen A., he wasn't having it all. He drew a clear line. There's a difference between physical, competitive play and outright abuse. And this is abuse.
Instead of protecting its transformative star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Ms. Clark, treating its greatest asset as if she were a PR headache.
This is not trash talk. It's not tough defense either. It's a coordinated campaign of elbows, cheap shots, and straight-up dangerous plays aimed at one player. And why? Because jealousy in the WNBA isn't just real. It's practically an Olympic sport. Look at the All-Star voting, for example. Caitlin Clark led fan voting with a record-breaking 1.29 million votes, obliterating everyone else. Yet somehow, when it came to player voting, she ranked 9th among guards.
The league forward. Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson questioned Ms. Clark's 2024 Time Athlete of the Year recognition. Ms. Clark shattered fan vote records with 1.29 million All-Star votes, yet ranked only 9th among guards on the player ballot. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't stop there.
Can you imagine Clark in 9th place in the player voting? That's like ranking prime LeBron 9th in the league. That's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. That's more like saying, we're going to teach the rookie her place. the message from her peers was clear. We don't care how much you've elevated the league, you're not getting our respect.
On the map, they should be saying, hey, good for you. We're going to compete like hell, but thank you. We're getting the attention we have long deserved. No. They're going after her. They're so resentful, so petty, so jealous.
And here's where Stephen A. really went off. Her absence during All-Star Weekend caused a 36% drop in ratings. That's not a dip. That's a ratings apocalypse. It proved that Clark isn't just important to the WNBA. She is the WNBA right now. Without her, interest collapses, sponsors frown, and casual fans vanish faster than a Sky fan after a 20-point deficit.
Remember I talked about people being jealous? The Cheryl Swoops of the world and others. Remember I pointed that stuff out? Remember I talked about the rough housing?
Yet, instead of protecting their most valuable asset, the league seems content to let players try to break her in half on national television. This isn't just Stephen A. talking either. The Wall Street Journal published an op-ed arguing that the Department of Justice and the Department of Labor should be looking into this as a workplace safety and discrimination case.
This would mirror the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission investigation into the Erica Hamby's pregnancy discrimination claims against the WNBA and her team. Congress and Labor and Justice departments would be justified in examining the facts.
Stephen A. even compared it to past federal cases where institutions got slapped with massive civil rights settlements, like Columbia University's $221 million payout. And just to make things spicier, Congressman Jim Banks sent a letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert demanding answers on officiating, targeting, and any internal communications about Clark.
Congress and Trump's administration demanded answers. Columbia's recent $221 million settlement for civil rights violations shows the effect of such scrutiny.
That's right. The Clark issue has officially moved from sports debate to political talking point. Stephen A. made the point plain. If the WNBA wants to grow, you don't sabotage the one person bringing in unprecedented attention and money. You protect her, you market her, you make sure she's not getting blindsided by defenders with the subtlety of a WWE heel turn. And if you don't, well, don't cry when the feds show up, sponsors start bailing, and fans stop showing up.
If the Trump administration can settle with Columbia for a $221 million settlement over what's taking place on the campus, you think you can definitively rule out what kind of noise can be made if the WNBA continues to allow this treatment?
And then there's the hypocrisy. Other WNBA players act like they're the perpetual victims, demanding protection when it's them taking a hard foul, but when it's Clark, suddenly it's all fair game. The logic is mind-blowing. As Stephen A. put it, if a player is cooking you on the court, you get better and defend them clean. You don't try to injure them because you're salty. That's not competing. That's insecurity with knee pads on.
Season, Chicago Sky Guard Trinity Carter blindsided Clark on an inbound play, and her teammates were ecstatic. They're acting as though Carter hit a game-winning shot. They're high-fiving each other, they're laughing, they're talking. Last season, 17% of flagrant fouls were against Clark. 17%.
Sponsors and networks are paying attention to all of this too. A ton of major deals are tied directly to Clark's name. Her presence affects broadcast rights, ad sales, and ticket demand. And with CBA negotiations looming, the economics matter. If attendance and ratings nosedive when Clark isn't playing, you better believe those numbers are going to get thrown in players' faces when they demand higher salaries.
They happened. The Wall Street Journal writing about that when they did, that was just a couple of weeks after those ladies wore those T-shirts. There's a collective bargaining negotiation coming up, and then all of a sudden that story comes out. That's not a coincidence for me. Yeah. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. You got to pay attention and watch the tea leaves and see what's going on here.
What makes this situation even more indefensible is the clear complicity of league officials. Referees have consistently turned a blind eye to the excessive punishment Clark endures, while quick to penalize her for the slightest reaction. This isn't just bad officiating, it's institutional bias that's created a toxic workplace environment. The Wall Street Journal has already drawn parallels to major civil rights cases, suggesting the Department of Justice might need to intervene if the WNBA can't police itself.
The concern is that resentment is then leading to targeting on the court. It's happening at a higher rate for Caitlin Clark than anyone else. And unfortunately, it's creating a textbook hostile work environment for Caitlin Clark. And under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, the federal government does have an ability to engage here, should they so choose.
The backlash is growing at the highest levels. Congressman Jim Banks has formally demanded answers from Commissioner Kathy Engelbert about the league's failure to protect its most valuable player. Major sponsors are growing nervous about their investments being tied to what increasingly looks like a hostile work environment. Even normally reserved analysts are speaking out. Rebecca Lobo and others have warned that this unchecked targeting is damaging both player safety and the league's credibility.
Sophie Cunningham told the Wall Street Journal she's Caitlin Clark's teammate, the Indiana Fever. The star player of the league is not being protected. Rebecca Lobo, analyst, ESPN. What does she say? Every single one of those plays against Caitlin Clark has been a foul.
Stephen A. Smith put it bluntly, if he were Clark's father, she would have already retired and sued the league into oblivion for allowing this dangerous environment to persist. The fact that Clark continues to play through this abuse speaks to her toughness, but it doesn't absolve the WNBA of its responsibility to provide safe working conditions.
Do you know what Gino Auriemma said? He said she's being targeted. I don't remember when Michael Jordan came into the league, guys looking to go out and beat him up.
The irony is almost too bitter to swallow. Clark has done more to elevate the WNBA in one season than most players have in their entire careers. Her arrival sparked a 601% surge in merchandise sales, tripled team valuations in some markets, and drove League Pass subscriptions to the highest level. She's brought in enormous endorsements that benefit the entire league. Yet rather than embrace this rising tide that lifts all boats, many veteran players have responded with open hostility and dangerous play that borders on assault.
There is no denying the fact that Caitlin Clark has been mistreated by jealous dump divers in the WNBA. There's no denying it. But I don't need a federal investigation to prove it. We all have eyes. We all can see it.
Stephen A.'s final warning hit like a sledgehammer. The WNBA is standing at a crossroads. They can either acknowledge what's happening and put an end to it, or they can keep ignoring it and watch the league's credibility, finances, and future crumble. Protect your stars, or prepare for the federal government, your sponsors, and the court of public opinion to come crashing down on you.
Anything like that. I'm saying they have a case. They have an argument. And do we doubt that at his discretion, at his disposal, if he finds this to be an issue that's politically expedient for him, that Trump won't use this to feed his base?
And the sarcasm wasn't lost in his delivery. Stephen A. practically laughed at the absurdity that a league begging for relevance is actively trying to maim the one player who can give it to them. It's like finding a golden goose and deciding the best course of action is to throw rocks at it until it stops laying eggs. The fact is, the Caitlin Clark situation has become bigger than basketball. It's now a conversation about workplace safety and about whether the WNBA actually wants to succeed.
You have coaches, you have CEOs, you have agents calling her white bread, right? You have retired players. Man, there's so many analysts, journalists. You have so many people that are woven into the league just talking crazy about Caitlin Clark and treating her like she's an outcast or something. Like, it's weird.
The league now stands at a critical crossroads. They can either finally take decisive action to protect Caitlin Clark, suspending repeat offenders, overhauling their officiating, and sending a clear message that this targeting won't be tolerated. Or they can continue their current path of passive enablement, which will inevitably lead to government intervention, sponsor withdrawals, and irreversible damage to the WNBA's reputation.
Think Caitlin Clark could become an issue of national, potentially international, and definitely federal proportions? You don't think so?
What's happening to Caitlin Clark goes beyond tough defense or physical play. It's a coordinated assault that the league has allowed to continue unchecked. She's been poked in the eye, blindsided by cheap shots, and tackled to the hardwood repeatedly while referees stand by watching. In one particularly egregious sequence, Clark got tripped, elbowed, and nearly clotheslined in a single possession.
No, Molly,
It ain't just sports that I'm doing. I'm doing a lot more than sports. I am not guessing on this. I didn't go on my show and just bring it up for no reason. I happen to know a few people who have said this is something that do not be surprised if President Trump speaks on eventually.
The racial dynamics surrounding Caitlin Clark's treatment have become impossible to ignore, exposing uncomfortable double standards that the basketball world would rather pretend don't exist. Let's be brutally honest. If Clark were a black woman being targeted this viciously by predominantly white veterans, the outcry from social justice activists would be deafening.
Had this happened to an African American woman, you know this would be discussed. You know the normal suspects would be jumping up and down, standing on their head, shitting snowballs, and saying, hey, civil rights, racism, workplace. You know that's what would have happened, but I digress.
There would be protests outside arenas, hashtags trending worldwide, and ESPN roundtables dissecting the systemic racism in the WNBA. Instead, we get crickets from the usual social justice warriors, proving their selective outrage only applies when it fits certain narratives. The hypocrisy is staggering.
You know, people are upset at how Caitlin Clark has been treated, but if this is a civil rights violation, my God.
This is the same league that lectures about equality and fairness, while allowing its veterans to wage what looks suspiciously like a racialized hazing campaign against the white phenom who dared to become the face of their sport. Where are the player coalitions speaking out against this mistreatment? Where's the social media outrage from the ally athletes? Their silence speaks volumes.
Then, of course, I think she might have had the most flagrant fouls on her, especially from the Chicago Sky. I know they had all their flagrant fouls coming on Caitlin Clark. So it's weird, man. It's just something weird going on.
And if Stephen A. Smith has his way, it's also about to become a matter for the United States government. If the WNBA doesn't want that smoke, they better fix this fast. Because if there's one thing Stephen A. loves more than basketball, it's being right when the whole world is watching. And right now, he's not just right, he's on fire.